frigid Saturday afternoon north of Baltimore in Towson, Maryland. We have an in-state rivalry today. The Towson Tigers hosting the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays. It's coming up next on Lax Sports Network. It is a cold Saturday afternoon from Johnny Unitas Stadium in Towson, Maryland. Lax Sports Network presents the College Lacrosse Game of the Week. Today from Johnny Unitas Stadium, it's two of the top teams in the country. Number 7, Johns Hopkins makes the 5-mile trip up from Charles Street to take on the number 16 Towson Tigers. Alongside Bugs Combs, Brendan Glass-Sheen joining you live from Johnny Unitas Stadium in the broadcast booth. There's so much history between these two teams, Bugs. They've played head-to-head at least once since 1976. It's been really all Hopkins, but Towson with the win today would win 2 of the last 3 matchups.
Yeah, this series has definitely been dominated by Johns Hopkins over the last couple years. In tradition, they played for a long time. This is a heated rivalry, not too far apart from each other, and they really get after it in this rivalry.
We'll get to Shaq Stanwyck now of Johns Hopkins. He's been outstanding. He has scored at least 1 point in all of his games this season.
Shaq Stanwyck's unbelievable. The 6'2", 180-pound junior out of the Boys Latin School in Baltimore, Maryland. Does a great job as the offensive quarterback for Hopkins. They're going to try to get the ball through his stick as many times as possible, and he's done a great job within his future of continuing to get better as a dodger as well as a feeder.
That Stanwyck family lineage, a lot of expectations to live up to. One of 8 siblings. On the other side, it's Ryan Drenner on the attack. He's from Finksburg, Maryland. He's one of the captains for Towson.
Yep, Ryan Drenner out of Westminster High School, 6 foot, 185-pound attackman, reigning CAA Player of the Year, does everything for Coach Nadelin's team and Anthony Gallardi's offense. You're going to see him 9 goals and 6 assists on the year, and they're really going to expect him to control the offense for Towson today.
Drenner's one of many seniors on the attack. We are good to go. As you can see, Towson, they boast the number 2 face-off percentage in the country. Kevin Forrester, Donald Gallagher, and William Kelly, today's officials, and we are underway from Johnny Unitas Stadium in Towson, Maryland. Opening faceoff controlled by Hopkins. And you said to me earlier, Bugs, Hopkins turned the ball over early in the loss to Princeton, 18-6 on the road.
Early in the game, they didn't value the ball, and then they weren't winning faceoffs. So you can see right here, they're going to try and value the ball on offense, especially early on. But Towson was playing tenacious defense going after the ball there.
Tyler Mays stabbed the loose ball. It's a ground ball pickup. And back come the Tigers under their head coach, Sean Nadelin, in his 6th season. Bugs Combs, former assistant coach, with Sean Nadelin with Towson. We're just a minute in now to the first quarter.
And as we see Towson on offense here, great sign for Towson to see Joe Sider is on the field. You know, he didn't play a whole lot last week against UMBC. He was able to be successful when he was out there, but he has been limited by an injury, so we'll have to look throughout the game.
8-6 victory for Towson. Sider did score a goal in the game, but a lower body injury sidelined him for much of it. It's Tyler Young, and they flop it through. It's good, and Towson strikes first. Joe Sider right on cue, Bugs.
Yeah, he did a great job. Joe Sider's really hard to stop when he gets his hands free and his feet set like he did on that play. Tremendous job by the defense from Towson to get the ball up the field, and then you just see simply moving along. Tyler Young does a great job of getting the ball to Sider in the right spot. Sider steps in, shoots the ball, gets it on cage goal.
That is Sider's 7th of the season. Had the game-winning goal against UMBC. It was a very timely goal for the Tigers. You know, Towson wearing the white, Johns Hopkins in the light blue. Hopkins took the opening face-off this afternoon. And possession to the Tigers. Whistle from the right. We'll have a look at that goal in just a moment here as Towson flings it up the right side of Johnny Unitas Stadium. We're 90 seconds in. It's 1-0 Towson. And the Tigers, with the win today, would get just their 5th all-time win against Hopkins. But it would be 2 victories over the last 3 contests.
And when you come to Towson, you play lacrosse at Towson, one of your goals is to beat Hopkins every year. And that's a big goal of yours. And you can see that those guys are really out there ready to play right from the beginning whistle today. And after Towson scores their first goal, they go right to their second midfield. So they are playing 2 midfields right now, back-to-back, to see if that continues for the rest of the game.
Sider and Drenner play catch. And the loose ball picked up by Johns Hopkins. And here come the Blue Jays over the left side. This is Tal Bruno, junior from Lutherville, Maryland. Right down the road from the Towson campus. As most schools are, most of Towson's starters, 7 of the 9 outside of the face-off X, and in goal, they are from the Old Line State. This is Patrick Frazier up top. He's from Walpole, Massachusetts. And one of the keys we had today for Hopkins offensively, let's let Shaq Stanwyck dictate tempo.
Yeah, they want to get the ball into Shaq Stanwyck's stick, let him make the decisions. And when the ball's in his stick, he usually does a good job finding the right guy, or he does a good job dodging against his defenseman to score.
They cut it back on the right side. Dismuke.
And for Hopkins, the keys that we have the game, bounce back from the Princeton loss of last week and value each possession. They haven't been great at the face-off X this year, so their possessions are going to be really key for them today.
They tried to make a move, and Tinney had it stripped. Still down on the turf and gathered by the Tigers of Towson. Josh Miller gets it out for the Tigers.
And for Towson, capitalize on the man up. They're only 27% for the year for man up, so if they get that opportunity today, they have to finish it and then play a full 60 minutes. Last week against UMBC, they started off 6-2 winning, and then UMBC was able to come back on them.
Tyler Young sends it ahead, and Towson gets it going once more. Opening goal for Joe Sider, his 7th of the season. He had 35 goals a year ago and then 34 goals his sophomore year. And a good sign that he gets going early despite leaving the game early against UMBC.
Yeah, so far Towson's got to be really happy with the way, almost the first 5 minutes of this game has gone for them. They lose the first face-off, but they're able to score on the first offensive possession and 2 great defensive possessions so far.
They've got the ball moving, one of our keys today for their offense. Here's Lynch, curls it back out. Mazza collapsing on the end line. Trenner looking for space. Good pressure by the Hopkins defense atop the box. And we're 5 minutes in now, first quarter in Towson, Maryland. Denial by by Gerald Logan, the Michigan transfer. After spending 3 seasons with the Wolverines, he gets his first stop today.
You can see there the referees at the point put a shot clock on Towson, but because they hit the pipe, the shot clock comes off.
Yeah, very close. And a penalty marker out. You can see Dave Petramala watching on. Hopkins head coach in his 17th season. Graduated from Hopkins in 1990. Once more, this is Tyler Young. They dump it below the end line. Now they'll try and crash the house. Navigation by Young once more. Pardon, that's Lynch. Here's a one-timer set up, but it is backed up by Johns Hopkins. A nice look for Mazza, just too much mustard on it.
Too much, and great job by Nick Fields running the ball out there. He anticipated the shot was going wide and beat his attackman to the end line to give Hopkins the ball, and that's a big play by Nick Fields to get possession for his team.
He's a senior, Nick Fields from Potomac, Maryland.
when I talked to Coach Petramalo this week, he talked about Nick Fields, being a consumed leader and being a big leader for those guys and really communicating with the guys on defense this year.
He's been very pleased with his effort. He's one of the only defenders that played solid minutes a year ago. Still 1-0 Tigers. Sider's goal in the opening 2 minutes or so. Let's see if Hopkins can get this offense moving. Cole Williams, a freshman. Back down the end line for John Crawley. Crawley, one of the captains of Johns Hopkins. Crawley, a spin around shot. That one's home, and Hopkins is on the board. That is his 9th of the season.
Interesting what Hopkins has done here. They've moved John Crawley to the attack, and they have him playing from the attack position. Normally a midfielder, they move him to attack. They do a great job on a two-man pick game with Shaq Stanwyck, and Crawley comes around, and he does a great job of turning the corner, looking for the goal, and shooting it in a good spot.
Now for Dave Petramala, one of the huge voids from last year filling Ryan Brown's slot in the starting attack, so not a bad option to go to Crawley.
No, I'm not sure you really replace Ryan Brown with anybody, the way he used to shoot the ball and how mechanical he was and how right it was. But, John Crawley stepping in, great job by Hopkins here, putting a little wrinkle in their offense. Bobby Benson, the offensive coordinator, has done a great job all year and continuing to do that, putting little wrinkles in like that.
So one apiece as senior for each team. Puts their respective clubs on the board. 8 minutes to go in the first quarter. Thanks for joining us for the College Lacrosse Game of the Week. Number 16, Towson, hosting number 7, Johns Hopkins. Yeah, both teams had drops in their rankings from a week ago. According to Inside Lacrosse, Hopkins was number 3 last week, losing to Princeton in shocking fashion, 18-7. The Tigers of Princeton closed the contest in a 10-0 run last Friday afternoon. Hopkins once more on the offensive end. Stanwyck operating per usual. They leave it up top, a left lane opportunity, shut down. There was a small opening. Teed up, but a stop in net for Miller. Kept that one in front.
It was a good save, good defensive possession after, having Hopkins score on you the last time. Good job getting a stop there, getting the ball up the field. One of the things that's a huge strong point for Towson is their short stick D middies. Those guys are big, they're athletic, and they can play on both ends of the field.
Officially, that's our first save of the day. As Matt Wiley, who is known as the heartbeat of this Towson team, according to head coach Sean Nadalin. He's the emotional leader if the team ever gives up a couple of goals consecutively. Wiley, the senior out of Columbus, Ohio, rallies the troops. We're even at 1. That's Brian Bolowicki. He's a redshirt senior, number 3 in white. He's atop the box. Here's Drenner with the moss hanging out. A teed up look for Bolowicki, but it soars upstairs into the end zone, and Sider backs it up.
That's a good job by Austin Spencer, getting out to his hands, getting in his hands to not give him a clean shot, and that's what made that. That was about 10 yards away, and you don't want to give guys, open shots from 10 yards.
Spencer, the long stick midi from Naperville, Illinois. As we're under 6 to play in the first quarter. Cole Robertson for Towson. Loops it underneath. Here's Drenner again. He's controlled the ball much of this first quarter. Drenner cut up in traffic, and out in front, it's kept by Gerald Logan. And here comes Hopkins.
Hopkins has numbers here if they want to push it.
Bruno trolled it back. They go downstairs. They were looking for Crawley again, but he got tangled up in the mix. And turned over by Hopkins. Nicely done by the Towson defense to get back and make something out of nothing there.
Yeah, good hustle by the Towson defense, but I don't think Hopkins took advantage of that. They had a 2-on-1, and they kind of skipped the guy that was open there to get the ball to Stanwyck, where if they went to Crawley right away, I think he would have had a shot.
Yeah, it might have been an extra pass or two, but there's so many options on this Hopkins offense. They want to get everybody involved, and Coach Petramala has told us both. I love our depth. I love the potential of where we can be. And the terms he used, or the phrase he has used early in the season, a work in progress. He'll probably say that until May.
I would much rather play Johns Hopkins right now in March than in May, to be honest with you. They still have 2 midfielders that are getting healthy, that are really good as well, so they don't even have their full complement. Once they have their full complement, they're going to be a team that's going to be hard to stop, especially in the heat.
Mazza finds Young, and he finds the back of the net. Tyler Young. Off his left hip, he puts it home, and it's now 2-1 Towson. They retake the lead.
And a good job by Tyler Young just today. He's taken what they're giving him. He has the assist on the first goal. He has scores this goal, and it's simply that they're not going to slide to him. If you look at the stats, Tyler Young has not had a lot of goals or a lot of points this year, but he's a glue guy for that midfield. And it's not that he hasn't done it. He just hasn't been asked, and he hasn't had that opportunity. Here he takes the opportunity, beats his man, no slide comes, he puts the ball in the goal.
Well, his first 2 years with the program, he was starting as a D midi. He played there last week. That's his first goal of the season.
Yeah, and as you
he's
can see
looking
here,
like he's been doing it all year.
No slide comes. Tal Bruno tries to, I think, go over the head to get the stick, misses it, which gives Tyler Young room to get the shot off.
Young's a senior from Crofton, Maryland, attended Rundle High School, recruited by the University of Pittsburgh for football. Was a star running back in high school. We're approaching the 4-minute mark, first quarter. It's a very cold day in Towson, Maryland, and we were talking about this pregame. How do you handle the elements of playing in 20, maybe even sub-20 degree weather today?
Yeah, well, if you're one of the guys that's on the field all the time, you really don't feel it because you're moving, you're in the game, emotion, adrenaline, all those things. But the guy that's come in and out and sits for a while, that's the guy it's tough for because he gets warm and then he gets cold and then he gets warm. So you probably won't play as many guys as you would if it was a hot day today.
Towson slips it around, pardon me.
And one of the changes you see that Anthony Gallardi made on offense is they have John Mazza, number 9, now playing midfield. He's played attack for most of the season.
Young flicks it back to Lynch. Now they have Mazza. Towson's done a nice job of dumping it in and out of the crease. Young gets rid of it. Sets up a one-timer and a stop in net. Nicely done by Logan. Logan's record, of course, 4-1, just like the team. And speaking with some of the Hopkins personnel before the game, they're pleased with his efforts so far. You have a nice option behind him in Brock Turnbaugh, who was the starter last year.
Yeah, it's always nice when you have a starter from last year to your backup in case something happens. But Logan's come in. He won the job in preseason. He's done a great job. And I think one of the things he's really brought to this team is the clearing ability. Last year they were about 83%. This year they're at 91%, which makes a big deal, of getting more possessions on the offensive end.
And Coach Petramala was very pleased with that number when you compare last year's numbers. Of course, Hopkins fell to number 5 Brown in the NCAA tournament in the first round last year. And for Towson, it reached the quarterfinal round. Fell to Loyola, who eventually made the Final Four. We're approaching 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Williams gets rid of it. Stanwyck trying to make something happen. Great denial defensively by Chad Patterson. He is eyeing Stanwyck so far this afternoon. Plopped away. You can hear shouting from the Towson sideline. Ground ball gathered, though, by Hopkins. That was Forey Smith, who's a freshman attack from Schwecksville, Pennsylvania.
And you're going to see Hopkins here. They need to push because the shot clock is on, and it's about 10 seconds right now. So they're under 10 to get a shot on the goal. Great defensive effort by Towson so far.
Eisler nearly had it plucked away. And it is turned over. Nicely done. It's picked up by Towson. Whistles blowing. Don't forget to check out Lacrosse Now daily on Lax Sports Network, 5 and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Get a full dose of what's happening throughout lacrosse in the pros as well as the college and high school levels. Under a minute to play first quarter. Johnny Unitas Stadium is the site. Towson just turned it over, and Hopkins looking to tie it up. They set it up, and it's put home. Big time shot and goal for Hopkins. Kyle Marr puts it behind goaltender Josh Miller of Towson.
It doesn't look like Towson was organized on the clear there. I'm not sure they even had enough people on the field. And so what happened was Hopkins was able to ride them because they had the same amount of guys, and then simply, great job on the clear, and then you get the ball to Kyle Marr in that left-handed spot. That's going to be a goal. Technical sound shot, overhand, high to low to beat the goalie.
That's Marr's 6th of the season. He did score one of the team's 7 goals at Princeton last Friday. Now, Marr is the son of Scott Marr, head coach of the Albany men's lacrosse team. And of course, Scott Marr played for Johns Hopkins.
Yes, he did.
Way back when with Dave Petramala, they were classmates.
They were 2 pretty good players, too. Oof.
Not bad. 1987 national title team included Dave Petramala and Scott Marr. So Kyle is in good hands. Once again, Towson takes the face-off, but quickly evaporated the possession. Hopkins has it back. With 30 seconds to play in the first quarter, tied at 2. See if Hopkins wants to speed it up in the final 20 seconds to try and tack on one more. Backed up by Forey Smith. No, pardon me, that was Stanwyck. He backs it up. The fake pass to Smith. Stanwyck shoved down. Ball is loose. Joe Patty nearly grabbed it. And it's backed up by the goalie, Josh Miller. 1 second to go. And he'll just airmail it down the right side. End of one quarter from Johnny Unitas Stadium in Towson, Maryland. Tied up 2-2. We've seen this game tied a couple of times, and both teams are having their fair share of causing turnovers and playing solid defense.
Absolutely. 2-2. Tigers, come out early. Hopkins is able to come back. Great first quarter.
This is the College Lacrosse Game of the Week. We'll return for the second quarter on Lacrosse Sports Network. Tune into the Cross Now face-off as LSN analyst Josh Hopkins and Chris Marshall go toe-to-toe, debating and dissecting the biggest stories in the game. It's the hottest takes on the hottest topics. The Cross Now face-off, Thursday through Monday, right here on LSN. Bugs Combs, Brendan Glasheen with you here at Johnny Unitas Stadium. Tied up 2-2. We've seen 2 ties. Each team has attempted to take a lead. Towson has set the tone, and they've really done a nice job defensively so far.
They have. They've done a really good job on the defense end of the field, really pressuring Hopkins and not really giving them anything. The 2 goals they got, John Crawley and Shaq Stanwyck, great pick play, and then on the ride. So the defense from Towson's got to feel good about their first quarter. They got to continue to play the same way.
Pretty even-keeled first quarter when you look at the numbers. Towson had just 1 more shot than Hopkins as the Blue Jays crash down to our right. They'll be shooting on the right side in the second quarter. Towson on the left. Even at 2. 4 different goal scorers. Crawley had 1, as well as Marr for Hopkins, Tyler Young and Joe Sider for the Towson Tigers. Both teams had 6 ground balls in the first quarter. And 3 face-off wins for Hopkins. Towson, the second-best face-off percentage in the country, outlasted in that first quarter.
Yeah, especially now, with that first win in the second quarter, 4 wins to Towson's 2. That's a big difference in the game. Towson thought that they would have an advantage there.
And they got a step, and they find the back of the net once more.
It was a good job by John Crawley. Again, they move Crawley back to the midfield now. He does an opportunity to dodge from up top. His first goal was a dodge from behind. His second goal was a dodge from up top. It doesn't look like they want to slide to him or they get to him early enough, and he buries the ball. It looks like it hits the inside of the pipe and goes the other side of the goal.
Yeah, wandered off the pipe for a moment, and you mentioned pick play for a key for Towson defensively. Looked like some nice pick play done there by Dismuke. Wilkins Dismuke, a senior for Johns Hopkins. And Hopkins has its first lead of the afternoon.
Yeah, that's a big lead at 3-2 because you felt like Towson really controlled that first quarter, even though it was 2-2. And now you see Hopkins up 3-2 with Towson with an opportunity.
They fling one downstairs in the back of the net. Joe Sider, his second of the game. Ankle breaker that time. Wow.
And I think this is what Coach Nadelin had, in mind when he was thinking about the face-off game for today. He thought he would have an advantage, not only have an advantage, but on this one he's able to take the advantage and move it into a fast break. You see Alex Woodall does the smart play as the face-off man. He draws to the point, gets the ball to Sider, and Sider's at about 12 to 15 yards and does a great job of shooting the ball to Gerald Logan's offside, and Logan just can't get there. It was a good job by the face-off unit, and that's a big goal for Towson to tie it up 3-3 right here.
Yeah, zero lack of hesitation. They come right back down and even the score. There's Sider from Sparks, Maryland. Now he's got 100 goals in his career. He's got 2 today. What a milestone, his 100th career goal. He's now got 6 against Hopkins in his career.
Yeah, that's not easy scoring 100 goals in your career in college. There's so many good players out there, so many good goalies and defenses that you play against. And, Towson doesn't play a weak schedule. They play one of the top, schedules in the country. They play in one of the best leagues, the CAA in the country. So they're playing against good players all the time.
The next 2 games for Towson against ranked opponents, Ohio State on Tuesday, which can be viewed live on Lax Sports Network, and then number 5, Denver.
Yeah, this is kind of Towson's Big Ten week, I like to call it. They're playing in the Big Ten schedule.
Of course, Hopkins of the Big Ten. Hopkins' next task, an ACC opponent in Syracuse. Start of a 3-game homestand after today. Still even at 3. Bowden putting on pressure against the Hopkins attack. And a flag comes flying in out of nowhere on the right of your screen. We're 2 minutes in, second quarter. Hopkins just had its first lead of the day. Miller a stop out in front on the left doorstep.
Good save by Miller there. I'm a little bit questioning what the foul they're going to call here. It seems like, maybe they're going to call a push here on Dismuke. He had the ball with his hand, ball on his stick. He's not necessarily usually a carrier. He's more off the ball. So Towson saw that defenseman, went after him, tried to take the ball away here. And maybe they call that push there. In this type of game, that's a little tic-tacky for me. This is a rivalry game, 3-3. He didn't necessarily do it violently or anything, and Hopkins is unbelievable on the man-up. This is one place you do not want to mess with them. They are successful. They move the ball. They have shooters. They have feeders. And it looks like right now Towson is shutting off Kyle Marr up top. So they're making him play 5-on-4.
Frazier loops it, and a bouncer home. They get it in the bottom of the net. Wilkins Dismuke. Hopkins, another lead.
Yep. Like we talked about, Towson's got to stay out of the box. Hopkins' man up is very dangerous, and you see right here, Dismuke moves the ball to Frazier, and Goodrich just is not able to get there off of the shut of Kyle Marr to get there to check him, and open shot for Frazier. Good job burying it. Great job by Wilkins Dismuke making the extra pass, though. A lot of guys will shoot that ball in that position, and now Frazier has a better angle because he's looking at more of the goal, and he had his hands free.
Hopkins inside the top 12 in the country for man-up goals. Now 9 for 17 on the season, more than 50%. Give that one to Frazier. his 6th of the year.
And I think a lot of that credit's got to go to Bobby Benson, the offensive coordinator, of working with that group.
Bobby Benson played for Hopkins, graduated in 03. Right back comes Towson. They find the back of the net once more. And we're tied again 4-4. Alex Woodall, the faceoff man.
Yeah, and again, great job by Towson. Hopkins takes the momentum with a man-up goal. You come back and tie it, take that momentum away. And what I like about this one is Woodall makes the right decision. Before they slid to him, and he moved the ball to Joe Sider. This time, nobody really comes to him. They're not going to slide to him until the end, and he's at 9 yards. He just does a good job of putting it on cage, and anything can happen when the ball is on cage.
This is fun. They're going right back and forth right now. How will one of these teams take control?
Hey, this is what lacrosse is supposed to be about. Up and down the field, playing, running, goals scored, good defense on ends, good offense on the other end. And I think whoever's able to really control the face-off X for the rest of the game is going to be the team that's going to come out and win the game.
Woodall, the transfer from High Point, still clamming for it, falls down, and a whistle blows. It is going Towson's way. Picked up by Tyler Young. Not sure what happened there, but Woodall looked like he got the cage of his mask hit the bottom of the turf, and he rose back to his feet right away, thankfully. Tied at 4, 3 minutes in, second quarter. Towson is looking for just its 5th all-time win against Hopkins. This is meeting number 45 between the two teams. Would be 2 wins out of the last 3 games, though, if Towson pulls it off today. And meanwhile, Hopkins trying to bounce back from a tough loss at Princeton, trying to go to 5-1.
One of the things that's been really important on Towson's offenses so far today on their possessions is they haven't necessarily had, except for one time, any unforced turnovers, and that was early in the game in the second possession. And that's going to be a key to them is, be able to handle the ball, get good shots, and get good possessions. Tire this defense down and make the Hopkins defense rotate and communicate with each other.
And we've talked about the struggles of Towson on the man up, just 3 for 11. The shot on goal percentage just under 27%. Here's Mazza shaking and baking. Out to Young. One hopper kept in front by Logan for as long as he could. And it's backed up by Towson. A little controversial. Looked like Hopkins thought they were there first. Mazza. Nearly clipped away. Now it's towed this time by Trevor Kelsch. Kelsch gets bodied, and it's backed up again by Towson. Sideline is bumping right now.
Great ride by Towson to get that possession back. I think Mazza needs to take a better shot than that. Both his shots have been stick side high so far on Logan, so we need to get that shot off to his offside or his offside hip if possible.
Now, outside of Nick Fields for the Hopkins defense, it feels like they're getting pushed around right now by the Towson attack.
They are, and I think the one thing though is I think the short sticks, Bruno and Carlani have done a great job so far, but you're going to see Towson's attack is really taking advantage of Hopkins' defense so far today.
Another flag, a delayed penalty. Up top, it's Lynch. Towson, the lead once again.
Good job by Tyler Conan in here, taking what they give him. He does a good job of moving the ball to Lynch, and Lynch gets rid of the ball. Towson know they had an opportunity. The flag down there, they know they have a free possession. Tal Bruno head slides a little bit to help out the other short stick, and as soon as he does that, Conan does a great job of picking his head up, moving the ball to Lynch, and Lynch this time shoots the ball high to low, and it really seems like Towson's doing a good job of getting the Logans offside where they're scoring.
Another member of this attack, a senior in Mike Lynch, who also plays in the midfield, but that time he lined one up and put home his 3rd goal of the year. He had 2 goals and 2 assists in the 8-6 win over UMBC last time out. Once more, it's Woodall and Craig Medeiros, at the faceoff X. Just about 5 minutes in second quarter. Back and forth we go at Johnny Unitas Stadium. It's dumped to Drenner. Sider's got 2 goals today. Crawley for Hopkins with a pair of tallies. Still nothing in this game except a point for Shaq Stanwyck. Stanwyck has now scored at least 1 point in 39 games, all 39 games of his career.
And I think one thing Shaq has done, he's done a great job of letting the game come to him. He's going to get his points and he's going to get his touches. He never forces the ball. He always makes the right decisions. And now Towson with the ball, they have their second midfield group on here, so they're hoping to get a couple goals out of their second group as well today.
Wiley turned the corner. Bolowicki had it looped down to Cole Robertson. And on the opposite end, we preview Drenner against Stanwyck today. Drenner dictating the tempo. While you won't look at the stat sheet and see a ton of goals and assists so far from these two gentlemen, they really do mean a lot in terms of how the game feels out. Now it's Drenner. Drops it off inside Robertson. Had it deflected. And it's backed up by Bolowicki. There's Cole Robertson, junior from Annapolis, Maryland. Attended St. Mary's High School.
Timeout by Hopkins there. I think that's a good timeout. Coach Petramalo takes that timeout on the end line. He can set some defense up as well as he can get his 2 short sticks D middies on the field, Tal Bruno and Carlini, that were not on there before.
So what can each team benefit from in this timeout? What can they reset and sort of clear the air with right now?
I think what we're looking at right now is Hopkins got to get better back to what they were doing earlier at the X. I think what Towson's doing a really good job of right now is taking advantage of their opportunities, number one. But number two, on the offensive end, they're not having any, unforced turnovers, which is big for them right now. They've had some problems with that early in the year. They're getting rid of the unforced turnovers, and they're really valuing the ball. And the same thing, I think Hopkins is, they're going to push a little bit more on their end. They've only had the ball, I believe, for 1 possession so far in the second quarter, and that was off the opening face-off of the second quarter win. So I think that they're going to push a little bit more, and I think the things they're doing on offense are working. The picks they're doing, the things like that, those type of things are working. They just need the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, how about Towson offensively? 8 shots on goal. They've converted 5 times. A percentage that was sub 30% entering play today.
And I look at that, and I don't necessarily think that's Logan's fault from Hopkins. What I look at is Towson shooting the ball in really good places right now.
Sure.
They're getting to his offside. They're not shooting high to high and making it easy for him, or he can just go across the face. They're changing their plane, which means they're going high to low or low to high.
It's out of the timeout. Tigers possession on the left side of Johnny Unitas Stadium. Towson has the lead. We've traded the lead back and forth a few times in this first half. And one of the concerns coming in today as Wiley crashes down was the question of whether or not Jack Adams would play. Adams is playing, did not play against UMBC. One of the seniors, a captain on that D-Midi side. Off the side of the post, Bolowicki. Went right to left there, but couldn't put it home.
I'd like to get another look at that shot and see where it hit in that pipe. It comes out at that angle. That's got to be pretty close to being in the goal there.
Yeah, did it cross the line? Did it just get a tick over? Very, very
nope,
close.
I don't think so. Looks like it hit the pipe and came out. But again, another really good possession by Towson. They get a great shot off. They're not, settling for 15 to 20-yard shots. They're getting what they want. They're moving the ball, and they're being unselfish.
And either team has had at least a 2-goal lead. It's been won or tied up. Robertson tried to sling it to the bottom right slot. Grabbed by Logan. And Hopkins will get things set up.
Important possession for Hopkins right here. They haven't had the ball in probably 5-6 possession for them to get something out of this. Even if it's not a goal, it's some good shots, it's some good penetration, good picks, things like that.
Seven minutes to play in the first half. Crawley's got a pair of goals this afternoon. Backpedaling on Sid Ewell, who's defending. Yule from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, transferred from the Community College of Baltimore County to join the Towson Tigers.
Yeah, he didn't have too far a road. Right down the road, Essex Community College he was at. Not too far. Come up to Towson.
Here's Crawley, open lane. No, stopped in net by Miller. Right with the tippy toes that time.
It was a good save by Miller. That was a good shot by Crawley. He got his hands free again, almost the same exact spot that he scored the previous goal. And again, Towson can't clear the ball here. It gives Hopkins another opportunity. And an extremely smart play by Coach Nadalin there. Coach Nadalin calls a timeout, so he alleviates the break. Hopkins can't catch them on numbers while they're subbing on it. So good job by Coach Nadalin to recognize that and take a timeout.
We are really neck and neck right now. Towson with 9 shots on goal, Hopkins with 7. And each team has won 6 faceoffs. Pleased with Hopkins' response. It feels like they've come back. We'll get to that in a minute here. Lacrosse Central every Saturday during the NCAA season. It's on Lax Sports Network. Make sure you check it out. Of course, if we've got a game going on, we got the pregame coverage. Don't forget to join us at halftime. Travis Eldridge back in the Lax Sports Network studios. We'll break down this first half. We'll also be joined by both head coaches, hopefully, at the halftime break. Right now, it's Sean Nadalin and Towson out in front by 1. But back to Hopkins, it really just a devastating loss, a really revealing loss, it felt like last Friday. But Dave Petromala said, all right, we'll put this one behind us. Let's come out and prove what we're made of here today.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think, once they start going and it starts rolling there for you and going downhill like it did for Hopkins at Princeton last Friday, it just couldn't do anything right. It was 9-2 at one point. But, I think really what Coach Petromala is looking for his team is to come out today and just show the effort. And if the effort's there, they're going to win the game.
And Hopkins has got a tough road after this one today. They still, well, including a couple of games they've already played. They beat North Carolina. They beat Navy earlier in the season. They've already played Loyola. They've got 3 of the 4 Final Four teams from last year on the slate. And according to strength of schedule, they've got the toughest one remaining in all of the nation.
And that's something that Coach Petromala and Hopkins has done for a long time. I've always been a big believer if Johns Hopkins is 500, they should be in the playoffs. Nobody else plays the schedule they play. They play Syracuse, they play North Carolina. Now they're in the Big Ten, so they got to play Maryland again. Keep playing Maryland and all those schools. So, and Penn State emerging in the Big Ten right now. So they play a pretty hard schedule, and if they're 500, they should be in the playoffs. And if I was a young man and I was going to high school, I'd want to go to Hopkins because they play the top.
You mentioned Syracuse. That's their next opponent on March 18th. Penn State, number 3, according to the top 20 poll by Inside Lacrosse. Hopkins possession. Down a goal. Good defensive pressure by Towson.
Another timeout by Coach Petromala. He noticed his player was in trouble. He noticed that might even lead to a break down the other way because of how they were set up. Calls a timeout, creates a possession for him. And you saw on that last possession from Hopkins, they were able to use the pick game to get the short stick on Joel Tinney. Joel Tinney is usually covered by a long stick. They use the pick game, create the matchup. He gets the short stick on him here. As you're going to see, is they keep moving the ball, and here Frazier falls down, and the ball comes out. By good job by Coach Petromala to make that timeout, to keep that possession alive, and especially in a 5-4 game like this, every possession matters.
And Jake Fox had possession there, and then the whistle blew for the timeout for Johns Hopkins. Don't forget, on March 14th, Lax Sports Network is your home for CAA Lacrosse in 2017, a Game of the Week schedule featuring 19 games, including both the men's and women's semifinals. The CAA Game of the Week schedule begins on Tuesday, March 14th. Towson, right back here at Johnny Unitas Stadium, hosting the Ohio State Buckeyes. Both teams ranked number 16 in the poll this week. Our coverage gets underway at 6:30 Eastern with the CAA pregame show, followed by the face-off at 7. The CAA Game of the Week, only on Lax Sports Network. That's another good one we've got on Tuesday, Bucks.
Yeah, that is. Ohio State's doing a great job so far this year. Coach Myers, really has that program running on top tilt right now. And it'll be interesting to see here, how Towson comes out in defense. Do they come into man-to-man, or do they come out in a zone after that timeout? Because you got to think that Hopkins has something set up coming out of the timeout.
Coach Nadelin said they'll alternate between man-to-man and zone in this game.
Looks like currently they're in man-to-man right now.
Most of those attackmen just a second ago for Hopkins were hanging out, floating atop the crease. Forey Smith gets it to Stanwyck. He's been quiet today, just 1 assist, no goals yet today for Stanwyck, who has 10 on the season. Just like Dismuke, who has also not scored today. We're approaching 5 minutes to go in the first half. Cradling, that's Forey. Forey Smith gets a pick. Loose ball, grabbed by Towson.
Huge play by Jack Adams, just being physical, and that's what Coach Nadelin talks about, him and Goodrich both being physical defensemen. You see an attackman, Forey Smith, thinks he has a short stick, thinks he has the advantage, and Forey Smith's a little bit younger, freshman year. Jack Adams is an older guy, been around for a while, gives him the pressure and gets the ball. Great turnover, and that's a big defensive stand by Towson there. Now they have some offensive midfielders. This is what they like to do with Goodrich. They like to take him behind sometime to dodge against the other team's offensive midfielder.
Goodrich has 4 goals, parted 3 goals this year, had 4 ground balls in the win over UMBC. That was a team high in the game.
And he will stay on the field. You notice in a lot of the defensive midfielders will come off the field. Even if they stay on for transition, they'll come off. But the coaching staff has confidence in him to dodge on the offensive end against offensive midfielders.
Here's Goodrich with a little one-on-one. Drenner got a step but lost possession. Surrounded by 3 blue jerseys, and he backs up his own mishandle.
Nick Fields has really handled that matchup really well in the first half so far today. He's really kept Drenner down. He's done a good job of staying in his hands, not letting him feed or not letting him beat him to the goal.
Oftentimes, it's Nick Fields who is getting the best attackman of the opposition. That today is Drenner.
And now we have a shot clock on for Towson.
Young got it back outside. Here's Mike Lynch. Flings it to Drenner. They go back up top. Mazza! That's number 3 today. And a 2-goal lead for the Towson Tigers.
Another really good possession. It starts off with the defensive midfielders from Towson staying on the field, and then they tire the defense down and they're able to get the ball movement. Drenner does a great job of throwing the skip pass. He finds Mazza up top. Mazza shakes, gets a little his hands free, and is able to shoot the ball overhand to the offside and just overpower Logan there.
Yeah, that shake and bake move you just mentioned, that was the key there to get that freedom.
It is, and you go from a 5-4, Towson lead. Hopkins calls timeout. They have an opportunity to tie the game. Great defensive play by Jack Adams. They come down and take care of that, put the ball in the goal, and now they're up 6-4 with a little over 3 minutes to go in the half. And they have possession because of the face-off violation from Hopkins.
First 2-goal lead of the contest. It goes to Towson with 3 minutes to go in the first half. Mazza with 3 goals today. That's Mazza's first cider, pardon, with the 2 goals. Here's Bolowicki. And they'll curl it around. 2.5 left. Drenner. Bolowicki with a left step. Shot wide right.
Good possession. It looked like Logan was on that shot. He was reading it. If it would have been on Cage, he'd have had the save there. But that's a good shot, good possession so far from Towson.
And for Mazza, by the way, he's now got the team high in goals with 10. Drenner right behind him with 9. Both entered with 9 goals today.
Yeah, Mazza really started off in the beginning of the year on fire. He had a couple games with 3 goals. Did a great job early in the season. Has has cooled down a little bit, and they've kind of moved him back and forth from midfield to attack to find out what the role is going to be best for him.
After a couple of wins over Mount St. Mary's and at Georgetown, Mazza won CAA Player of the Week on February 28th. We're almost 30 minutes in, and back and forth we go between two teams that, for each of their own cases, really need one today to validate themselves. It almost feels like as we get through the midway point of March.
Turnover from Stanwyck there. It's not something you see a lot from him. He was trying to get the ball to Cole Williams, and it just sailed over Cole Williams' head. Maybe Cole misread it, because that's not something you see from Shaq Stanwyck very often.
Towson taking its time. Bowden and Miller play catch, and then Miller, a whirlwind towards Drenner, and now it's back to Hopkins, turned over by the Tigers.
Yeah, they were about 2 or 3 seconds away from having a 20-second violation, so what they wanted to do is get the ball on the other end and turn it over on that end and allow their defense to get back and get settled and not give Hopkins anything.
Radowitz on the move. Cody Radowitz of Manlius, New York, attended Christian Brothers Academy in the upstate New York area. He's a senior for Hopkins, one of many experienced midfielders for Dave Petramala, the head coach. We've got about 20 seconds left now in the first half.
It's probably a time as Coach Petramala you wish you did have one of those last timeouts to set something up, but now you just got to let it freelance and let your players make the play and play lacrosse.
Crawley loops it. They're trying to attack. Nice flick of the stick that time by Towson defensively. And Miller just sends it airborne to the other side of the field. First half is complete. Towson with a 2-goal lead. The only time we've seen a team with a 2-goal advantage. They really finished that half strong.
They did. They came out in that second quarter after losing the first face-off of the second quarter. After that, they really controlled that whole quarter, and that was a big deal, and that's why they're up 6-4.
6-4 the lead. Towson with 10 shots on goal to Hopkins 7 in that first half.
And this is a great job on the defense, knowing Joel Tinney's a left-hander. Tyler Mays just waits for him to come back to his left hand and then checks down. Ball comes out of his stick, able to keep the 2-goal lead going into the half.
Each team won 6 face-offs, and Hopkins with one more turnover than Towson, 7-6 in that category. And we're just getting things set to go as we're hopefully going to get Sean Nadalin, the head coach of the Towson Tigers, in just a moment. His squad up 2 goals. Number 16 Tigers, and let's head to Sean Nadalin. Coach, your thoughts on that first half?
Solid effort by our guys. Definitely came out with good energy and composure with the ball for the most part. We got to clean up our clearing game. Just allowing just mental mistakes there, not doing a good job getting spaced and making good decisions with the ball. But I like our guys, like I said, energy and ability to answer to some of their goals off of our face-off or just responding well with some goals.
No, I think you hit it there, Coach. One thing you were able to do is you guys were able to respond when they scored those goals from the face-off X. Alex Woodall making good decisions. Talk a little bit about your defense and the tenacity the defense is playing with. They're really going after it on that end.
Yeah, those guys, especially our D-mids and long poles, they're a little bit more aggressive and physical than probably a lot of guys out there. And those guys got free reign for that. Got to be smart with it, but I think we're doing a decent job recognizing what they're trying to do, sharing responsibility within regards to their personnel, and doing a decent job being disciplined with that.
Well, hey, Coach, best of luck in the second half.
Great, thank you.
Towson the lead 6-4 on number 6 Johns Hopkins here at Johnny Unitas Stadium. We'll step aside and we'll get our halftime coverage going back at the LSN studios. It's Towson by 2 goals over Johns Hopkins. We'll be back for the second half. And we're getting set for the second half back at Johnny Unitas Stadium in Towson, Maryland. The Tigers, number 16th ranked in the country, on top of number 7 Johns Hopkins, alongside Bugs Combs, Brendan Glass-Sheen. We have Johns Hopkins head coach in his 17th season, Dave Petramala, who will join us. Hey, Coach, how about that first half for your guys? Really back and forth we go here. What were you impressed most with your team and their fight in that first half?
Well, defensively, I think we're doing okay. We're going to make a change in the goal because I just think we need a bit of a spark there. We're spending a little too much time on their first dodge, worrying about the interior, and when they roll back or they throw to X, they're skipping through or throwing back. And this is a second dodge team, so we got to do a better job there. But we're fighting defensively, and we got to start to win a matchup in the offensive end.
Coach, what's your message to your team coming out of that first half?
You know what? We give up 2 goals off the face-off, so you take those 2 off the board, and we got a game here, so we're fine. We just got to keep grinding. We got to be a little bit more efficient and effective in the offensive end, and defensively, we just got to understand how they're attacking us, which we just talked about. Do a little bit better job of maybe not spending so much time looking to support the first dodge, so we're better prepared for those second, third dodges.
Hey, Coach, best of luck in the second half.
Thank you, guys.
Dave Petramala, 17th year head coach at Johns Hopkins. Graduated back in 1990. He's the winningest coach in school history, and he's the 7th winningest coach amongst active Division I head coaches in college lacrosse. We turn to some of the highlights now from that first half. A couple of 2-goal performances, Sider for Towson and also John Crowley for Hopkins.
Yeah, Sider getting off early is really good for Towson. Him scoring 2 of the first 3 goals was really big. Both of them he was able to set his feet and do what he's successful at, shooting the ball, one off a face-off, one off a pass from Tyler Young. And on the other end from Hopkins, we saw Hopkins' offense was really clicking. We saw they moved John Crowley to attack. He was able to take advantage of that with a pick from Shaq Stanwyck, and then he was also able to score when he moved back to midfield. And to have a player that is that successful at both positions makes you a big-time threat to be able to go from midfield to attack. And as you see, he just dodges down. He does a good job getting his hands free. And what he does a great job is when he shoots the ball, he gets the ball on cage.
That first half, we had 2 lead changes and 4 ties. This is the only 2-goal lead of the game that we've had. And a great point by Coach Petramala there. Outside of those 2 face-off goals, especially that one where Woodall just collapsed right down the lane.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
It was definitely a good going there for Hopkins to stay in this game.
Yeah, that was something. Towson was able to jump off on those 2 face-offs, and every time Hopkins tied it up, Towson was able to come back and either tie it or take that lead again. And I think that was really important as you continue to take the momentum away from Hopkins, and that's what they're trying to build upon, especially with the Friday night game they had last week.
And the first face-off still getting tossed after. It's Towson who controls. They'll be shooting on the right side of Johnny Unitas Stadium in the third quarter. Hopkins on the left.
And like Coach Petramala said, I think that there's something we really need to highlight is they've made a change in the goal. They've gone to Brock Turnbull, who was the starter all last year, so they have confidence in him. He has played against Towson before. He's played in a lot of big games, so Coach just felt like Logan wasn't seeing the ball right now, and he made the change.
Last year, Turnbull played in the Towson game, like you mentioned. It was a win for the Hopkins Blue Jays, 14-8 in Baltimore. Turnbull from Phoenix, Maryland. He's a junior. Tyler Young crashing. He finds the bottom left 90, and Towson is up by 3 goals on Johns Hopkins.
And Johns Hopkins is probably asking, where did Tyler Young come from? On the year he hasn't had a lot of points. Like I said, he's been a glue guy with that first midfield, and just waiting to take advantage of his opportunities. He was a spectacular running back in high school, so he's a great athlete coming out of Arundel High School, playing for some great coaches down there. And you see, he just takes advantage of the short stick, and he just never gets his stick on him. Tal Bruno never makes contact because of how quick Tyler Young is, and he gets his hands free and he shoots high to low, beating Turnbull to his stick side low.
Arundel High School has produced some very highly skilled athletes, both in football and lacrosse. Well, how about for Young, considering that he's drifted back and forth from defense and midfield? Coach Natalin's told us both, hey, we're thin. We have to have guys step up, be versatile, take advantage of their talents. Not one complaint from Tyler Young.
No, and he's that type of young man. He's a really good person. You know, he coaches with our young lacrosse guys, our young lacrosse club in the summer, and does a great job. And you know, he's just waiting to take advantage of his opportunities, and that's what you teach young players: is you just got to wait for your opportunity, and when it comes, you have to take advantage of it.
One of Coach Nadelin's keys today: let's not beat ourselves and not get in our own way. Towson has lived up to the bill so far, up by 3 goals. That is the largest lead on either side. Stanwyck with a very quiet first half. Shaq Stanwyck did pick up an assist. He has now scored at least 1 point, 39 straight. They collapse up top on the right, and Hopkins puts one in. Cody Radzowitz, 5th goal of the game.
Radzowitz just simply, you know, dodges from X. He's usually a midfielder, carries the ball behind, dodges, does a great job of inside rolling his guy, as well as staying on his feet and accepting the push instead of diving into the crease, where if he landed in the crease, it would be no goal. Does a good job getting inside Adams, and Adams pushes him. You know, what I think Cody does a real good job there is using his size. He's a little bit smaller than Jack Adams, so he gets small, and when he inside rolls, there's not really anywhere for Adams to put his hands on him.
That little 3-goal run now evaporates thanks to the goal by Radzowitz, his first of the season. And once again, back down to a 2-goal game. Almost 2 minutes into the third, 45th all-time meeting between Hopkins and the Towson Tigers. Just 4 wins for Towson, 40 wins for Hopkins, and if a win today for Towson, they would have grabbed 2 of the last 3 games head-to-head.
And I think this game is really important for different reasons to teams. You know, I think for Towson, this is a big out-of-conference win. You know, you're talking about for some reason they don't win the CAA. They beat Hopkins. You're putting yourself in a great position to get in at large. And, you know, with Hopkins' schedule, every game is critical for them, you know, with who they play and the schedule they have coming up over the next couple weeks. So it's important for them to get this as well.
Yeah, especially for what's in front for Towson. Ohio State on Tuesday. You can watch that game live on LSN. And then number 5, Denver in a couple of weeks. And then the start of the CAA season is here. So no doubt it would be big for Coach Nadelin and company to get this one today. They'll have to handle Crawley again. We saw a couple of goals from him, 2 in that first half. Concannon dumps it to the end line. Hopkins man falls down. That was Dismuke. Stanwyck getting harassed by Trevor Kelsch. And it's staying with the Blue Jays.
You know, and one of Coach Nadelin's keys was really how they were going to handle picks today. And so far, they've done a great job handling picks. Looks like they were maybe just a little over-aggressive there. You know, I think Stanwyck kind of fell on his own, but anytime you have that type of possession or, you know, where the ball is in front of the defenseman, you're going to get that push call as an offensive guy if you fall.
I know you were an attackman when you played at Maryland, but when you have to handle the pick game from a team like Hopkins, what's the number 1 step for a defenseman to get in the right place?
I think communicate. You got to communicate with the guy who's setting the pick and talk through it and see if you're going to switch or you're going to stay on the matchup. So communicating as much as possible is probably the biggest thing when you're going through that pick as a defensive player. As an offensive player, I want to run as close to the pick as possible and try to come right off his shoulder so my defenseman runs into him.
Bugs Combs, former Terrapin, former assistant coach at Towson, is on the staff with Coach Sean Nadelin. Nadelin was the defensive coordinator from 05 to 09, and Bugs, you were there with him during the 05-06 campaign. As Stanwyck continues to survey, they navigate it back on the far side. More pressure there from Towson. Jack Adams in the face, and that curl around, no. Backed up, though, by Hopkins.
Good job by Jack Adams. Cole Williams is a natural attackman. He will play some midfield, but they have him dodging from that left-handed spot where he's comfortable, and Jack Adams is doing a good job being physical.
Coach Petromalis says Cole Williams is just scratching the surface. He's ranked the number 6 freshman for the incoming freshman class, so the class that's in business right now. That was a rating by Inside Lacrosse.
You know you got to be pretty good if you're playing at Hopkins as a freshman because they have All-Americans and from high school up and down the roster.
schedule that is boasted by many juniors and seniors. Sid Ewell picks up the cause turnover. He has 3 this year, and Towson now has possession. Hopkins gets nothing out of that recent sequence.
No, and we saw both short sticks from Towson make plays. We saw Jack Adams making plays, and then we just saw Goodrich there who caused that turnover, and Ewell was able to pick it up. Now we'll see if Towson can clear it. They have had a little bit of trouble clearing today, so let's see if they get away from that and can clear the ball.
Miller sends it over the right side. Adams leaping for dear life. Smothered by Goodrich. Another versatile option for Sean Nadalin. 9.5 to play, third quarter. Towson by 2.
No, and Coach Petramalo over there is very unhappy. He thought that they should have had a triple on that play up here at the midfield line. He thought that was the reason his player fell, was because he was tripped, and it gave Towson the possession instead of Johns Hopkins being man up.
You know, Hopkins remains solid on the clear today, 7 for 8. Towson, meanwhile, 5 for 9. Cole Robertson. Now he's about 30 yards out from cage.
And once Towson is set in their 6-on-6, they're being very deliberate in what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the ball around. They're trying to move. They're trying to get Johns Hopkins defense to rotate and move.
This possession has lasted about a minute now. Drenner lobs it to the goal line. They keep moving it as Conan had it looped out to Robertson. A Hopkins player lost his stick. Looks like they're finding an opening here. A wind up and a shot good. Joe Sider. He has a hat trick today, and Towson back up by 3, 8-5.
And that possession starts with the ride from Towson. Hopkins thought there should be a foul. They get the ball. They're able to have a good possession for about a minute and a half before they take a shot. And I'm not sure Brock Turnbull even saw that ball. I think he might have been screened from the shot because of the way he reacted. Sider does a good job of getting it on cage, but it looks like it actually went off the Hopkins defenseman and deflected in the goal there. So, you know, when you're playing Hopkins and you're Towson, you might need a little bit of luck to beat them, and you'll take that luck. And, you know, Joe Sider, coming off an injury, has a hat trick. All 3 of his goals will be from setting his feet with time and space and putting the ball on cage.
You mentioned the defenseman that might have clipped the ball as it came in on a line drive. That could have been Trevor Kelsch, who you could see whispering and chatting with some of his teammates after that ball went through. That is Kelsch on the far side for Hopkins.
It looks like Towson sideline, they wanted a triple on that play as well.
Surveyed middle, shot on goal, plopped upstairs, Miller.
Big save by Miller. Big save. But when you're inside and you're an offensive player, you're supposed to fake high and shoot low. When he comes off the field, I guarantee Coach Bobby Benson's going to be talking to him about finishing the ball high to low inside.
Yeah, Miller was prepared. No trick fooled him that time. Number 16, Towson, up on number 7, Hopkins. Here's a shot, good. Big one for Hopkins. Kyle Mars, second of the game. Back to a 2-goal advantage for Towson.
You know, and this is what we've seen from Hopkins. Every time the league gets out a little bit, Hopkins is going to come back. This is a great job of Hopkins not only picking on the ball, but picking off the ball. So you see the pick, Stanwyck flips the ball, and then on the backside, what you saw was there was an exchange between Kyle Marr and Cole Roberts and Cole Williams there, and that what got Kyle Marr open and gets him his left hand. Kyle Marr has not been on the field that much today for Hopkins, but he does have 2 goals so far.
That went right by Miller to make it 8-6. Largest lead was 3 goals for Towson, 7-4 and 8-5. And a face-off win once more for Towson, second best face-off percentage clip in the country.
Great job by Tinney. Great check by Joel Tinney on the ride to create this opportunity for his team.
Crawley denied. Great stop by Miller once more.
Miller bails him out there.
This is Young in transition for Towson. Hopkins actually has more face-off wins today than Towson, 9-8 in that category. And of course is the main strength. And give credit to Towson. It's almost like they're winning today in a fashion that they're not used to.
No, they're
That's
not.
always great when you're the head coach and you can see different ways to win.
You got to find different ways to win. I think the difference is the face-off is what you're seeing is Towson's face-off man is producing goals, where you're not seeing that from the Hopkins guy. Woodall has a goal and an assist on 2 fast breaks, where you're not seeing that, and Hopkins isn't getting the breaks. They might be winning the possession, but they're not getting any fast breaks out of it.
Yeah, Craig Medeiros has won 9 faceoffs today for Towson, for Hopkins. He's a senior who missed all of his sophomore year due to injury. 6 to play in the third, 8-6. Towson as Drenner looks for room. Drenner, the quick twist. Plucked away by the Hopkins D. And Lynch in the right spot.
And that's Drenner's move. He likes to drive up to that left side and either turn back for his right or shoot with his left. He was very successful with that against Loyola earlier in the year.
Mazza's got a goal today. Lynch coming up on his left side. The ball loose. Smothered by Hopkins. It is Blue Jays possession. They've got numbers here. Miller, another stop on Crawley.
It looks like Crawley hesitated for a minute there, and that gave Miller just enough time to set his feet and be on the shot. If Crawley maybe would have shot that a little earlier, Crawley's kind of beating himself up right now. You can see on the field he's not happy with that shot. He wishes he probably could take that one back and maybe shoot it quicker or change his plane a little bit more, because it looked like Miller was going down low for that.
Feels like Hopkins has gone to Crawley a lot more. Certainly that was a transition offensive situation, but obviously from the top, Towson has, it feels like they've taken Stanwyck out of the game, and aside from the 2 goals by Crawley, they have shut them down, at least that top-heavy part of their offensive depth. They
have, Kyle Moore, he has 2 goals. One of his was off a ride, and the other was off a kind of a set play, pick play. So you really have seen Towson's defense do a good job, especially on Stanwyck. But again, Shaq Stanwyck's the type of player, he's not going to force something, and he's not going to make a bad decision. If it's not coming to him, he's going to play the game.
Wiley got it back to Drenner. Two-goal lead. Upstairs, Wiley! Nicely done in net by Turnbaugh. He doesn't look cold since checking in. It's in the mid-20s today, but Turnbaugh up for the task.
Good save by Turnbaugh there. I'm not sure that Wiley was the best shot that the coaches want. They probably want him to change his planes instead of shooting the ball high to high, but that's a great job by Brock Turnbaugh to make that save and get the ball down the other end for his team.
We've told you already, Wiley provides that emotion, the energy. He brings guys up to another level when the team is down, but also a good guy to have out there just to maintain fire, intensity, all of those words to knock off a top 10 team and an in-state rival like Hopkins.
Yeah, he's part of that rope unit, and that rope unit is really the heart and soul of the team. And, that includes Tyler Mays and Jack Adams, and the face-off guys and, those guys. So that's really the heart of their team is, that rope unit. And Coach Nano looks for them to really be the catalyst for this team.
Miller, another save. That's his 6th today.
No, again, Frazier looks like maybe he just didn't have his hands free right there. Maybe he waited a second or the defenseman got into him, but that shot was definitely, taken care of by the defensive getting in his hands and not letting him get a 100% shot on Miller there.
Both of these teams made the NCAA tournament a year ago. One team will remain with just 1 loss on the season. Another can pull to either 5 wins for Hopkins or 4 for Towson. They keep swinging it. Great ball movement so far today by Towson as Mazza had it clipped away. Conan in the right place to help him out. Hopkins sideline getting jubilant. Lynch finds Mazza. Coming up on 2 minutes to play. Kept alive by Towson. Nicely done by Sider to keep the possession moving.
This is where they were trying to get the ball to. Drenner has a short stick on him, and this is a matchup that Towson thinks they can take advantage of. The shot clock has been put on by the refs, so you're under 30 seconds here, but Towson has a good matchup.
Drenner curls and scores. First one today for Ryan Drenner, his 10th of the season. And Towson matches its largest lead. It's 3-9-6.
Towson's offense taking advantage of what Hopkins' defense was giving them. They had a short stick on Ryan Drenner. Hopkins actually did a pretty good job of getting the long pole, Nick Fields, back to Drenner. But by the time he got to him, Drenner just had that one step that was able to get his hands free, and he had Fields on his back. He turns the corner and gets to a better shooting angle and shoots the ball to the offside.
Yeah, initially it was the sophomore, Danny Jones, that was defending Ryan Drenner.
And it's interesting to see that happen because Towson was worried about that happening to them on their defensive end, and now they're able to take advantage of it on their offensive end.
Yeah, what is happening to Stanwyck? Have they eliminated him from this game?
You know, I don't think they have. I don't know if Hopkins is doing a great job of getting him the ball in places that he needs to be successful. So that has something to do with it as well. And again, also Shaq Stanwyck is the type of player that's not going to push it and not going to make bad decisions. If it's not coming to him, it's not the right decision, he's going to hold off.
Woodall busted a move after another face-off win. Thought he was going to the house again. Well, under 90 seconds to go in the third, and Towson has maintained control of this game.
And this right here is probably one of the most important possessions of the game. It's 9-6 right now. You have almost a minute to go. You got to figure you're going to get at least down to 15 seconds before the shot clock, or maybe 30 seconds before the shot clock comes on, and you want to get the last shot if you can. You do not want to give Hopkins the opportunity to come down here and make it 9-7 and have the momentum going into the fourth quarter. If you can, best case scenario is you're up 10-6 going into the half. Worst case, into the fourth quarter, worst case scenario, you're up 9-6. And shot clock is on now.
40 seconds to go in the third. These two teams have met at least once, dating back to 1976 each season. Drenner once more looking for a step. They make sure they get the long stick guy on him this time. Conan got bopped on the side, and it's backed up by Towson.
3 on the shot clock.
Got it by a fingernail. It's going to have to be Bolowicki, and it's turned over. They ran out of time.
Big 10 seconds, 11 seconds to go here in the quarter.
Tal Bruno on the move. What does Hopkins have in these final seconds? Frazier dumps it out in front, and they just hold them off in the final splinters of this third quarter. Towson hanging on to a 3-goal lead on Johns Hopkins, 9-6. We'll come back for the finish of this one, this in-state rivalry. Lax Sports Network is your home for CAA Lacrosse in 2017 with the Game of the Week schedule featuring 19 games, including both the men's and women's semifinals on Tuesday, March 21st. LSM will be on Long Island when the Stony Brook Seawolves take on the Hofstra Pride in a matchup of the only two Division I lacrosse programs on the island. Coverage begins with the CAA pregame show at 6:30 Eastern and face-off at 7. The CAA Game of the Week only on Lax Sports Network. Alongside Bugs Combs, Brendan Glass-Sheen back with you at Johnny Unitas Stadium. Towson looking to pull the upset, up by 3, 9-6. This is number 16 Towson against number 7 Johns Hopkins. We were just chatting a second ago. How does Towson not approach this fourth quarter by playing scared and not playing to give up the lead? Maybe the best way to say it.
I think they got to continue to play the way they're playing. They played really patient on offense all day, so I don't think it's going to change anything on the offense end. On the defensive end, they've been pretty tenacious. They did a good job except for 1 or 2 times clearing the ball. So Coach Nadeline, Coach Gallardi, and Coach Kachi, those are just telling their players, hey, let's keep playing the way we played for the last 3 quarters, and we can come out victorious. Now on the other side with Hopkins, Coach Petramalo is telling us it's time to push. We obviously don't want to make dumb mistakes or not intelligent plays, but we got to push the ball. We got to get more shots on cage at the right spots.
Yeah, the face-offs are right down the middle until Towson just won the opening face-off of the fourth quarter. And then the shots on goal category pretty even. Towson with just 3 more than Hopkins. Tyler Young has been extremely active today. Young has 2 goals. Sider with 3 goals, bouncing back from that lower body injury against UMBC. Drenner tried to spin it home, but he outside and wide and backed up by Tyler Conan of Towson. For the Tigers, this would be just their 5th all-time win against Johns Hopkins in 45 meetings. That's if they pull it off. 3 goals in the college lacrosse, nothing nowadays. As Sider gets denied off the netting of his stick. Drenner in the right place to back it up. Here's Mike Lynch. Weaves it for Sider.
These are the possessions that Towson offensive coordinator Anthony Gallardi's looking for. This is a good possession. They've got some good shots. They're making good passes. They're pushing where they can, but they're not over penetrating and not putting themselves in bad positions.
Lynch got his step. The one bouncer in the turf, right in front of Turnbaugh. And another backup for Towson. You mentioned Anthony Gallardi. He's an Ohio State alum. That is the next opponent for Towson Tuesday night. Don't forget to join us on Lax Sports Network for a 7 p.m. face-off. We'll have the pregame coverage at 6:30 on LSN, right back here at Johnny Unitas Stadium. Drenner finds an open man, and Sider picks up his 4th of the game. 4-goal lead for Towson on Johns Hopkins.
And this goal from Sider is a little bit different than his previous 3. You know, again, I think Drenner has done an unbelievable job of skipping the ball to the shooters today. He's got great eyes, and what he's done is done a good job of putting the ball on the shooter's sticks. And so what Sider doesn't have, he doesn't necessarily have the shot right away here. So what he does, he catches the ball. He doesn't have it. He breaks down. The defenseman's flying at him. He switches to his left hand, which is his off hand, and puts it between the legs of Brock Turnbaugh. But that was set up by the defenseman racing at him. That's why he wasn't able to shoot it right away. He needed to switch to his left hand, get his hands free, and shoot.
Back to your point, the patience out of Towson today has been outstanding.
It's been really good, and Coach Gallardi has to be happy. You know, you come out of a timeout, you do some things there out of the half. You come out and you really do what you're supposed to do. Now you're going to see the second midfield come on, and he's going to expect the same thing from the second midfield that he just got from the first midfield.
Consecutive face-off wins for Towson. Well, we've already highlighted Woodall, and he boasts that third best face-off percentage in the country. He's been solid on the year, 41 in white. And Towson has a 4-goal lead. Here's Matt Wiley. When you consider all of the hype coming into this game, it's a big game every year when Towson sees Hopkins. Robertson, Bolowicki searching to put that one through, and another stop. They got to turn to Turnbaugh here to try to keep this one in check.
It was good save by Turnbaugh. He saw that. He read it was going low. An even better job of getting the ball to Tal Bruno, so they're able to clear the ball and get the ball on the offensive end. And again, here, you know, big possession here at 4 goals with a little over 11 minutes to go. You know, you got to, get some production here from your offense. You've only got 6 goals on the day. So they got to get something here going. And you're going to see the first midfield come on. See at attack, you see, Marr, Stanwyck, and Forey Smith.
In case you joined us late today, Turnbaugh got the nod to start the second half. Gerald Logan, the Michigan transfer who had started the first 5 games of the season, he was in net for most of that first 30 minutes here at Johnny Unitas Stadium.
And he had 4 saves. I didn't think that the goals that they were scoring were goals that he definitely should have had, but Coach Petramelo did, and there's a big goal from Hopkins.
A much-needed goal, to say the least. It is Joel Tinney, his 8th of the season.
And Joel Tinney's kind of, the heartbeat of the team. You see he's playing wings of face-offs. You see he plays offense. He plays defense. He's kind of an everything do it midfielder. He was shut out last week against Princeton. He shut out up until the 4th quarter today. So let's see if that gets him going and gets his momentum and his confidence going. But it's a great job using the pick, coming hard around the left corner and turning the corner and going right to the goal and then shooting the ball to the offside to beat the goalie.
Tinney played his high school lacrosse at Culver Academy.
Yep. it's a little bit different playing against a left-handed goalie than a right-handed goalie. So you're able, especially coming around that left-handed side, you're able to shoot to his offside where his stick isn't.
So Miller allows his 7th goal of the game. Here comes Woodall to the house. His 2nd of the contest. And Towson responds right away. Back up 4.
Once again, Towson's doing what they've done all game is they've answered the bell to Hopkins. When Hopkins scores or is creeping that lead back, that's when they go out. And it looks like they're going to change here with the face-off guy. Like Ledwin's going to come in here for this one, for this face-off. And Woodall, I think he, even though the face-offs are pretty equal, he's done a great job of taking advantage of the ball when he has it in his stick and pushing the ball. And again, the defense does not slide to him, so he does what he's supposed to do. He shoots the ball. Nice bounce shot, goes right up underneath the crossbar. And a good job by Woodall taking what the defense has given him. And he's been, 2 goals and an assist so far. That's pretty good for a face-off guy.
No, he's like a freight train going down the middle of the seam there. Get out of the way when Alex Woodall is coming in. And you're right. It feels like when he's won the face-off today, it's just been so much more noticeable. He is just he takes is a lot more feistiness. It feels like when he gets the win. We've got under 11 minutes left, 4th quarter. Last year, these two teams met in Baltimore, and Hopkins got the win 14-8. They pulled away down the stretch in the 4th quarter. Maybe Towson has a run in itself to pull away from Hopkins.
And last year in that game, what Hopkins did a really good job was on the offensive end of the field. They were really working their picks, and what they did is they were able to switch the matchups of the Towson defensemen, and they were able to get the short sticks on a lot of different guys, so they were really able to tire it down Adams and Goodrich last year.
Well, patience remains key for the Tigers on the offensive side. As Conan is surrounded by blue jerseys, his shot wide right. Had a little giddy up in the step. Had just an inch of breathing room, but it is backed up by Towson. Well, I'm sure you used to coach with Towson. Anytime you saw Johns Hopkins on the schedule, it is exciting. And especially when you see them in March. When you were coaching, you saw them in May, and that's when the team is a lot more well-oiled.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be, a big thing for them this year, especially than any other year because of the guys they're getting back from injuries. A lot of guys aren't 100% yet. They have 2 other guys that haven't played that are really good midfielders, in Sapinski and Fields as well. So I think you're going to see them, kind of take this and run with it for the rest of the year. I'm a little interested about what's going on in the goal for Hopkins right now because, I thought they were really settled on who their goalie would be. And, it doesn't seem to be that way from the last 2 games.
That one hopper backed up by Drenner. And, of course, there's a lot of emotion for Sean Nadelin. He's coaching against his alma mater today. Graduated from Hopkins back in 2001. He played for Dave Petramala. Some of the things he said about Dave, he respects him so much. He's got compassion for his players. He cares about his players very much. He cares about another one of his players. That is Ryan Drenner, who puts it home, his 2nd of the game, and Towson has its largest lead, 5 goals, 12-7.
And it's continued, great patience on the offense, finding the right matchups, taking the right shots. Anytime Ryan Drenner from rotation ends up with a short stick on him, that's not by design. There's no defenses out there that want to play with him in short stick, but he gets the short stick on him, and he's able just to run by him, come to the left side, and beat Turnbull high to high.
Drenner's now got the team high back in control with 11 goals on the season. He's also got an assist today, so 18 points on the year. He's now up to 146 in his Towson career.
I'm a little surprised that there wasn't a timeout there by Hopkins. Just to kind of talk about things. Things are getting away from you a little bit here, just to bring the team back. But, Towson's done a great job. And Woodall, even though, the numbers don't say it, his job at the X has been unbelievable today.
You might have seen it just a second ago, but also a good sign. Towson staying totally engaged, not getting comfortable by any stretch of the imagination. 5-goal lead is the largest we've seen today. Dave Petramala is opted to not call a timeout. I think he might have to now if Towson comes down here and puts another one home. Some cutters flail in and out as Conan surveys back to Sider. He's got 4 goals today, almost made it 5. Twirled around and tried to go for the upper left 90.
It was a good save by Turnbull to be there. It was a good shot. The shot clock was on, so it was a good take. He had a short stick, so Coach Gallardi will be happy with that. Just couldn't finish. Good job by Brock Turnbull staying high, getting the ball back to the Hopkins offense.
Bobby Benson's the offensive coordinator for Hopkins. See if they can draw something up with almost 7.5 left here at Johnny Unitas Stadium. Number 7 Hopkins in trouble. They might fall in 2 straight. Fell to Princeton last Friday afternoon in blowout fashion, 18-7. Flailing through the middle. Nicely done by Crawley. Man, oh man. He got the step and put it home by Josh Miller.
Important goal for Hopkins. They're able to score this goal off of the transition substitution. The Hopkins player is able to beat the Towson player to the substitution box or midfield, whichever one they were subbing out of. Crawley comes in. He quick fake, runs by the stick check of Mays, and able to put the ball in the goal. And Crawley's been a really bright spot for those guys today on the Hopkins offense.
Crawley's 3rd of the afternoon. He's now got a total of 11 on the season. And 60 plus in his Hopkins career. He's a senior. Shifting from midfield to attack. We touched on that in the first quarter. Here's Zach Goodrich. Great activity by the midfielder from Stevensville, Maryland. Talked about the face-offs heading into this 4th quarter, dead even, while Towson now has a 5 face-off win advantage in the 4th frame.
Yeah, and you've seen Hopkins, they've tried some other guys out there. They've tried 66 Ledwin as well. But Woodall is really in the 4th quarter taking control of the X.
In crunch time, he's done the job. Almost got a shot by Turnbaugh. That was Mazza, who was going for his 2nd of the day. Hopkins in transition. Well, last year they lost 3 games in a row, and they're on the verge of losing 2 in a row if they don't put something together. And there's the timeout you were looking for, Bugs Combs.
Yeah, and you know, Coach Petramala has a lot of defensive players on the field there. You had your pole, and you had your 2 defensive short stick D-middies on the field. So, you know, let's take a timeout here. It's an important part of the game. A little over 6 minutes to go. 4-goal game. Big possession for Hopkins right here. And if he can get his right personnel on the field right now and then get a goal and bring it within 3 goals, that would be really big for Hopkins.
And don't forget, Lax Sports Network has more D1 men's lacrosse action on Saturday afternoon when the Providence Friars out of the Big East travel to Long Island to take on Hofstra from the CAA. Coverage begins at the pregame show at 2:30, followed by the face-off at 3. Lax Sports Network. It's all Laxess. Well, sometimes when you look at the team that's winning, you forget how good the goalie has been today. And Miller has been stellar. He had some great stops. That one against Eisler, and then he had a couple against Crawley as well of Hopkins.
He did. He's done a good job of standing high and then getting low to the shots. He's really seen the ball inside. He stood high a couple times, and then he's doing a great job once they make the save. He's doing a really good job of getting the ball to the short sticks or getting the ball up the field so they can clear the ball so Hopkins doesn't have the advantage of riding them.
That most recent shot by Crawley, you could just see a little twitch of the head. They feel like they are right there feeding the crease, and Miller turning them around.
And this will be, again, you know, 4-goal game with a little over 6 minutes to go. Does Coach Nadelin decide to come out in the zone? Does he stay in the man-to-man? The man-to-man's been really successful so far. Does he just want to stay in that, or does he want to throw another wrinkle in here and make Hopkins think about it and get into their zone offense and take 30, 40 seconds out to do that?
Feels like the obvious point for Towson. Hey, let's stay in it. Let's stay active. Let's stay at this thing. What do you think Dave Petramala told his guys there in that timeout?
Yeah, we're down by, we have this, and they definitely can do this. So I think he's just being positive, trying to build his team up and saying, hey, let's take a run at this. This possession is the most important of the game.
Well, the longevity of this head-to-head matchup, it's been all Hopkins. Crawley's been the man for the job today. Stanwyck has undeniably has been shut down.
Unbelievable play by Jack Adams, picking the ground ball up, avoiding the checks, getting the ball to Goodrich, and they get it up the field and clear. That's all Jack Adams right there.
Coach Nadelin told us the other day on the phone he competes his butt off game by game. Adams did not play against UMBC due to a lower body injury. They have him back today, making his presence felt here in the fourth quarter. Coming up on 5 minutes left. 4 goals.
I'm interested to see that Hopkins is bumped up. So essentially what they're doing when they do that is they're taking a long pole defenseman or a defenseman and moving him to cover a midfielder. So right now they have Joe Carlini covering Tyler Conan, which is an attackman. So they have 2 poles playing on the midfielders because the midfield has been so successful so far from Towson. And as a matter of fact, they're shutting Conan off with Carlini. So they're playing 5-on-5 essentially, which should be good for Towson with them trying to space out and keep the time right now.
Wiley, one of the second line middies, gets it to Drenner, who normally hangs out on the end line.
And the shot clock has been put on. So Towson will have a little bit over 20 seconds to get a shot off on Cage.
Slapped away by Hopkins. Regathered by Young. He tried to go down below the ankles, and a stop by Turnbaugh.
Turnball's been really good low, so maybe Towson, if they are going to take some shots, want to change it up and go higher.
Right back down they come. Once more, it's Crawley, but he got stopped. Ball is loose. Kelsch.
Huge save by Miller there on Crawley.
Hopkins in a rush. And Miller watches that one soar by him, hip-hopping into the end zone.
You're going to see Hopkins is going to be man up here for 30 seconds. Zach Goodrich went off sides here, number 14 for Towson on the defensive end. He was on the offense end, moved to the defense end, was the 7th guy. So they're all sides again. This is a place where Johns Hopkins has been tremendously successful all year. I would look for them. This is where they're going to get back. If they can score here and make it a 3-goal game on man up, that's going to be key for them.
Top 12 in man-up goals entering play today. They've already got a man-up goal in this contest. Now 9 for 17 in those situations.
And Towson shut off Kyle Marr in the beginning. Now they're shutting off Shaq Stanwyck.
Frazier. Almost plucked away by the Towson D. It is. Tyler Mays coming up with the loose one. We're approaching 3 minutes to go in regulation.
Really good play by Ryan Drenner to come up as an attackman to help your defenseman in the clearing game. You don't see enough young attackmen doing that. Great job by Drenner coming up and making the pass shorter for his defenseman and able to keep possession.
Towson, number 16 in the Inside Lacrosse Maverick Media poll. Hopkins at number 7.
And Towson that's a big bullet to dodge right there. His 4-goal game, Hopkins didn't even get a shot off on that man up. So it was a great job by Tyler Mays and the defense, to stay together, really communicating what they're doing and take Hopkins out of their man up.
And a whistle blows behind the goal. Looks like Towson might have taken a timeout.
It looks like the officials were about to put the shot clock on, so Coach Nadelin saw that they were going to do that, and it's a really smart timeout. Number one, to get his offense in front of Coach Gallardi. Coach Gallardi can decide what he wants from those guys, as well as saving from the shot clock going on. It'll be interesting to see how quickly the shot clock goes on after the timeout, but it looks like they were about to put it on right when Coach Nadelin called the timeout.
Once again, don't forget about our coverage of the CAA Game of the Week. just a couple of weeks, Lax Sports Network will bring you a men's and women's doubleheader from some of the best teams in the nation. First, it's the CAA Game of the Week when Denver travels across the country to take on Towson. Denver is currently number 5 in the Inside Lacrosse rankings. And at 2:30, women's lacrosse live on LSN, a matchup between the Oregon Ducks and the Towson Tigers. Coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. Eastern with the CAA pregame show. And once again, we're up in the broadcast booth here. Bugs Combs and Brendan Glass-Sheen with you. It is coming down to the wire here. 4-goal lead. Towson doesn't want to hang this one as if it's a different game, but it is a different game for the Tigers. They would love to pull off the upset today. Do you feel like they're up for the task here in these final minutes, or does Hopkins overwhelm them at all here?
You know, I feel like Towson's really, held the momentum most of the game. So it's really interested to see how Towson's going to play this. If you see this, you're going to see, Logan's going to come here, and now they're going to make it. They're going to make a change back into goaltending, and that's because Logan might be a little bit better of an athlete, and they look like they're going to come out here and double down 4 goals with 2 minutes and 25 seconds. You can't you can't just rely on regular defense. You have to go get the ball, and as you can see right here from the start, they're going to double the ball, and Logan will be out of the goal, and everybody else will shut their man off, hoping that Drenner can get the ball taken away from by those 2 defensemen.
Here we go. Final 2.5 minutes. Drenner getting harassed by 2 defensemen. Tinney is one of the men there.
Yeah, interesting to see Tinney with the long pole in his hand today.
Flag comes out. Drenner denied. What a play defensively. Towson had a second opportunity. Wow, someone came soaring in out of nowhere.
It was a great job by Logan to get back in the goal there to make that save. Flag down right now, so what that's going to give is going to give Towson a man up for a minute. Looks like they're going to call a slash on 55, Joel Tinney. And again, Tinney is such a great athlete. Coach Petramala puts him in there with a long pole to go double the ball with Nick Fields, and that just says what kind of athlete and what kind of player he is for Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, Tinney was rubbing up on Drenner.
You're going to see Towson. They're going to take. They're going to take all this time out. The shot clock will not go on while they're on man up, so they have a whole minute here to kind of waste and see if Hopkins is going to come out and play them. I would imagine Hopkins has to come out to play the ball at some point, but Towson's just going to throw the ball around and hopefully create space around their attackmen and hopefully not turn the ball over on this man up and eat some more time.
Towson 0 for 2 today in man-up situations, just 3 conversions on 13 chances this year.
And I bet Coach Gallardi, he could care less right now if they go 0 for 3. If they possess this ball for another 20 seconds and they win the game, who cares about being 0 for 3 on man up? You win the game. That's what matters.
4-goal lead. We're approaching a minute to go in the 4th quarter. The Tigers just continue to loop things around in this man-up situation. Now a minute left in regulation.
Minute left, 6-on-6, shot clock is on.
Once more, it's Drenner getting harassed. Drenner has a step. Goes downstairs. Towson by 5. And Drenner's second of the game. That might be the dagger.
And you can do that when you're up by 4 goals. But if you're up by 1 goal there, that's not the shot you want to take. You want to hold the ball. You don't want to have a face-off and let them win 2 face-offs. But good job by Ryan Drenner, knowing the situation, has an open goal, does a great job of faking, and then make sure that he scores if he's going to take that shot. You can take that shot, and the coach won't matter. But if you don't score, you don't look over to the sidelines because Coach Gallardi is not going to be happy.
43 seconds to go in regulation. And pardon me, that's Drenner's 3rd of the game. I think I said that was his 2nd of the game. Sider's got 4 on 7 shots. That was Drenner's 7th shot of the afternoon.
Yeah, Drenner and Sider have been really good today for Towson. And Coach Nylund said that they needed them to be good if they were going to win this game. And those guys have rose to the occasion and played great today.
30 seconds to go. Towson has only beat Hopkins 4 times in 44 meetings, meeting 45 this afternoon, and they are in shape to get their 5th ever win against Johns Hopkins.
And this plays such a big part for Towson down the line. You know, looking at a large bid, obviously Coach Nadelin's goal was to win the CAA and get the automatic bid. But, you know, something happens and it doesn't work out that way. You know, it's really nice to have a win against Johns Hopkins in your pocket.
And the number 16 Towson Tigers pull off the upset and knock off number 7 Johns Hopkins here at home this afternoon. It's just the 5th win for Towson ever over Johns Hopkins. These two teams each year dating back to 1976 have gone head-to-head. A series dominated by the Blue Jays. Well deserved for the Tigers today. They really did play a complete 60 minutes. We'll step aside. We'll come back for our post-game coverage live from Johnny Unitas Stadium. Towson, the victory. Back at Johnny Unitas Stadium, number 16 Towson pulls off the upset, knocks off number 7 Johns Hopkins, 13-8. Sider had 4 goals today. Ryan Drenner with 3 goals. It's just the 5th win all time for Towson over Johns Hopkins in 45 meetings. What a win for Sean Nadelin. His alma mater knocks off Dave Petramala's squad that comes off a loss. You knew they'd come in focused. And Hopkins, I think Towson just played a way better game today. They were totally good for 60 minutes today.
Yeah, and I thought really Towson was really focused on the offensive and defensive end. You saw early on defense made some big stops, and then you see the offense. They really took care of the ball today. You know, in situations they needed to. They got the ball to the right guys. They didn't take any bad shots, and they made sure that they were getting the ball in the shooter's hands, and that just shows with Sider having 4 goals that they were able to get the ball in the guys they needed to.
And how about on the faceoff X? Alex Woodall, he had a great game. Hopkins did not win a single faceoff in the 4th quarter. It was 9-9, deadlocked going to the 4th, and they win 7 more faceoffs, 16-9 at the X.
Yeah, Alex Woodall in the 4th quarter really took the game over, and I thought his faceoffs were really good. And when he won the faceoff, he made things happen. He pushed the ball and had 2 goals and an assist, which is not likely from many faceoff guys.
Let's go down to Joe Sider now, who joins us live up in the booth. Hey, Joe, great game for your guys today. How does it feel, especially you being a senior, to get the victory over Johns Hopkins at home?
I mean, it's always awesome winning at home. I know Hopkins is always a great team, and that's what we really strive for, is just to beat the best, to be the best. So, I mean, it's an unreal feeling, especially my senior year, just trying to go out the way we want to, and that's win games.
Yeah, what was working for you today specifically? You had the 4 goals coming in with 6 on the season. You had the game winner last time. You left the game against UMBC due to injury. How'd you feel out there? And once you got your legs under you, what was working?
I mean, Coach Gallardi really we go over the film so well, and like the schemes that we do, just get our shooters open, and like Drenner behind from X, you just draw so many slides that it just gets us open. So the prep work before and executing on the field, that's what gets us wins.
Joe, quick question here. Bugs Combs here. You know, one thing I've really noticed is the difference in your shooting percentage. What was the difference between you today and against Loyola?
I really tried to take smart shots. I think Loyola, I kind of got ahead of myself. I kind of got away from the schemes of the offense, and today I really just try to focus on doing my part, doing my 1/6 of the offense, and sometimes that's pass the ball, sometimes that's shoot, and today it was to shoot the ball.
Now, one last question for you. It seems like that you've done a good job of setting your feet and getting your feet ready to shoot the ball today. You know, is that something you've been practicing over the last couple of weeks, but you seem like you were really moving off the ball to set yourself up first?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we really go over it in practice. We knew that they hedged off of the adjacent, so I just try to rotate myself away from our dodging attackman or midfielder and get in a position where I can just set my feet quicker.
Well, hey, thanks so much, Joe. Congrats on the win. This is a big one for you guys.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll see you on Tuesday night when Towson plays host to Ohio State. And Joe will hand over the mic now to head coach Sean Nadelin. His alma mater is Johns Hopkins. He gets a victory today. Now 2 wins over the last 3 games against Hopkins. Coach, how does this one feel? And overall, what was your biggest takeaway from this one, how you guys got it done?
This one feels great for our guys. Really excited for them. They put a good week of practice in. Even though we were still getting guys back from injury, I thought our scout team did a terrific job preparing the starters for what we were going to see. And, I thought with regards to how we played, what I asked of the guys before the game, I wanted us to play as complete a game of Towson Lacrosse that we were capable of doing. And to this point this season, I'd say we did that.
You know, in the fourth quarter, and really all over in the game, Alex Woodall seemed to play a big part for you guys, whether it was at the face-off X, but more of what he did with the ball. You don't see many face-off guys walk away from a game being 2-1.
Yeah, that was huge. Obviously, he was able to stall their kind of runs, which is in the sport of lacrosse something huge for any team. If you can do that, you feel like you got a fighting chance. And for him to get a couple goals plus an assist, especially after they had scored previously in those possessions, that just that negates any kind of momentum that they might have gotten off of their previous goal. Obviously, it pushes that momentum back in our side and gives our team a boost. So that was Alex was huge today.
Now you guys are 4-1. You guys got to go back and play on Tuesday night. What do you say to the guys to get them back in focus to play a pretty good Ohio State team on Tuesday night?
Well, the thing with our guys is hopefully, and we communicate this a lot, is we obviously expect to step into every game and have a chance to win, and we did that today. And the outcome shouldn't be a surprise to our guys. I don't think it is. So we got to handle ourselves as we usually do. Understand what we did to be successful. We definitely did some things that we need to clean up. We got to be smart physically in what we demand out of our guys, and then be able to hit the reset button, start preparing for Ohio State tomorrow, understand what they're about with the quick turnaround, and be able to obviously put forth a great effort against those guys.
Towson head coach Sean Nadalin, rock solid effort for 60 minutes today. Coach, thanks so much, and congrats on the win.
Great, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, well, hey, big win for Towson. They are back in action once again on Tuesday night against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Both teams ranked 16 in the Inside Lacrosse poll entering the week. Hopkins now falls to 4-2 consecutive losses for the Blue Jays. And Towson, as Bugs just mentioned, now 4-1 on the year. Once again, final score from Johnny Unitas Stadium. Towson 13 and Johns Hopkins 8. Thanks for watching College Lacrosse on Lax Sports Network. For the most comprehensive look at all of today's lacrosse action, stay right here for Lacrosse Central on LSN. Thanks for watching Lax Sports Network. It's all Laxess.